Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over all the things that I like and the things that I don't like about the all-new 2022 Infiniti QX60, and so with all that being said, let's get right into it. So before we start things off with the front end, I should also mention we're going to also go over my final thoughts in terms of like whether or not you should get one. But anyways, let's start things off with going over the things that, again, I like and the things that I don't like. So first off, the paint color, and I said first off like 10 times, is absolutely amazing on this car. I just love it. You guys can see, again, this isn't great lighting, but looks really cool with the lighting that we do have. And I love how it accentuates the body lines on the QX60. Something else I like is the headlights. So you guys know that this is the sibling vehicle to the Pathfinder. Now the Pathfinder looks very interesting. This, on the other hand, just, it looks good. They did a really good job with the design on the lights and then just with the body lines and everything with this vehicle. And then you guys can see here everything within the headlight as well looks great. I like this accent piece off to the side and then the parking sensors. And then I think it's great that they put the sensor there at the bottom, kind of how that is all integrated where it's really hidden. And then just how everything else looks. So yeah, I think from a front end perspective, it just looks like every other Infiniti. So I understand some people might have gripes with that, but it's a good looking vehicle. Like, I think Infiniti has done a good job with their styling. Now, moving from that to the wheels, again, this is another thing where I think they did a really good job. I think these are good looking wheels from an appearance perspective and from a size perspective as well. I think they're great. Don't mind my old washer that we're throwing away. But anyways, you guys can see, well, with the washer and the view, with the side profile, I think the wheels look great. Now, my first gripe is all of the plastic on this. So again, this is supposed to be like a third row luxury SUV, and we've got tons of plastic molding all around. And I know this is something that Toyota does as well in this segment, or I should say Lexus rather, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. I think that they should have made these body painted. I think that would have looked a lot better, especially since this is trying to compete against other third row luxury SUVs, or is competing rather against other third row luxury SUVs. I love the two-tone paint job on this, so with the mirrors and then also with the roof, I think that looks really good. Again, here's our side-ish view and also the old washer. Yeah, so I think that looks great from an aesthetic perspective. And then the chrome accent here on the door handles, I think looks great. And then coming here to the back, I think that, again, it looks really sharp. I think they nailed it stylistically. Again, the Pathfinder, there's some angles on that I'm like, I don't know about that. Whereas this, every single angle I think looks really good. Now, here is the key fob, and of course I dropped my camera lens, so we're gonna leave that in the video because that's funny. But anyways, back to the key fob. I guess this could be a downside. It's very plasticky and, you know, it's, I don't know, it doesn't really feel all that modern, but you know what, it's a key fob, who cares. Now, opening up the rear hatch area, you can see the storage space is really good. Something I really like is the fact that this just stays in place. I think that is super cool. And then we've got these plaques here on either side, which just look really nice, and they actually feel pretty durable. Now, one thing that is in other SUVs in this segment is raising and lowering of the third row, and then also lowering of the second row. Notice that we have this just to raise the seats, and then everything else you kind of have to do manually. So I guess that is something that I wish this had, so I guess that's a little bit of a downside. This is nice that you can lock it here from the rear, and then also that. So yeah, that's everything there. And then also the fake exhaust tip thing, whatever this is supposed to be, I don't know. I think that they should have just done the exhaust tips poking out the back. I think that would have looked great. 6,000 pound towing capacity, that's a huge positive. It's a very capable third row SUV. And then moving on from that to the interior, this is another thing that I really like. So first off, sunshade, definitely nice for the kiddos. But yeah, I like the interior. The leather feels very nice to the touch. I think it looks very nice. I know it's kind of dark with this particular car because it's all black, but I think it matches with the exterior because you have a really light exterior and then you have a dark interior, so there's just nice contrast overall. But yeah, I think they did a good job. And then the design with the speakers I think was great. The seats, that's another huge positive. I think the seats look great. They got nice piping on it, and then all of the perforations here in the center portion. I think the seats just look really good. So yeah, that's another thing that I'm going to say is a pretty big positive for the QX60. And then the fact that you can control the climate zone here from the rear. You've got heated seats for the second row, and then all the power outlets and all that fun stuff. Now, I'm not going to pop back here because I don't want this video to be too long. But yeah, the third row, it's cramped. But again, that's kind of with this segment. But I still will put that as a downside, I guess, even though every other SUV in the segment is going to have a cramped third row. So it's not like it's different from other ones. The center console is pretty cool. And then I'm always been a fan of captain chairs because, you know, you got to keep the kids split up a little bit, which is nice. Trust me, if you have kids, you understand. Now popping here to the front, I also think it's funny that I'm saying that when I don't have kids, but anyways, you guys can see the door panel here at the front, just as nice as the rear. It's got blind spot monitoring. It's nice. It has that safety tech. The fact you can power fold the mirrors in is great. Memory seats. It also has massaging seats. I found that out today. That's another huge positive. The seats here at the front, I think they look fantastic. And then popping in, I think this is nice material-wise. And I always go up here because most cars, but stop start button's right there. I think the steering wheel looks really good. It feels nice in your hands material-wise. The paddles are just plastic. I guess that's a little bit of downside. There's a lot of plastic here on the steering wheel in this area because we've got a lot of switch gear from Nissan, which is completely understandable, right? To save money, but it kind of does bring down the interior a little bit. You guys remember I did the comparison with this in the Grand Cherokee L, and the Grand Cherokee L has, you know, plastic as well, but it's got a lot of nice interior controls and everything. This does too, though. Like this whole area, really nice with the controls. And then down here, this all feels really nice to the touch. The shifter, all these buttons and everything feel high quality. It's just kind of the stuff on the steering wheel that doesn't feel the nicest. The window controls, even though they've got the plastic there, that portion has the metallic trim, so that feels nice. Gauge cluster, again, just borrowed from the Pathfinder. I think it looks good. I don't have any complaints with that. I think it's just a good looking gauge cluster. And then fuel economy, if I can find it. That's also been really solid for a third row SUV, getting almost 25 miles per gallon with my average driving. So I think that that's pretty solid. And then this is kind of like a interesting thing. So it's got a 360 camera system, which is great. You guys can see in reverse there, and then I can press the camera on here with the front camera. This is great, but the resolution isn't necessarily the best, especially compared to other vehicles in this segment. So I guess that's just something to consider. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time with the screen and everything is great, so I think this is a positive. It does look like it's just plopped onto the dash, so some of you might find that as a negative, but it's easy to use, so I really don't care what it looks like. That's just my personal opinion. I'm all about utility. And then I love the wood trim here, and then the quilted design here. Now this at the very top, pretty hard to the touch. It does have stitching in it. Well, fake stitching, because yeah, but I mean, at least they have stitching to kind of bring it up. It does have a camera mirror, which you guys know I am a huge fan of, and a panoramic sunroof as well, which I'm also a huge fan of. And then getting to my next point, which is the pricing of the QX60. So you guys can see the total price here, $63,945. Now this is my only problem with this car. This is $63,000, but a fully loaded Pathfinder is about like $50,000 roughly. And this is a very nice interior, but you get into a fully loaded Pathfinder and the interior is almost identical to this. And so like, it's kind of a hard sell in my mind. It's like, okay, well, I love the Infiniti styling, right? And you get the more premium brand, but like, this is just a Pathfinder. There really isn't much more that you get in this that you don't get in a Pathfinder. And it's like $10,000 plus more money. So that's, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a thing. But this is competitive with other vehicles in this segment. Like other third row luxury SUVs are the same price as this, if not more. So, I mean, it's competitive with the segment, but it's not competitive with a vehicle that's made by the same automaker. So there you go. Now let's get into my final thoughts here with the QX60 and the washing machine, I suppose. So washing machine, you are going to the dump. QX60, you are not. So here's what I really think. I think it's a great third row luxury SUV. It comes with a bunch of equipment. It's got like the massaging seats, heated, cooled seats for the front. It's got a good infotainment system, 360 camera system. It drives great. It gets good fuel economy. It's got, you know, adequate acceleration for the segment. Like, it does everything very well. And like I said, it's a good looking SUV. The only problem with the QX60 is the fact that the Pathfinder exists, and the Pathfinder has pretty much all the same equipment for a lot less money. And so if you can get past the Pathfinder's ugly face, then that one's a much better value than the QX60. The QX60 is competitive within the segment, but again, its biggest competition comes from Nissan and the fact that it's pretty much the same vehicle, but a lot less money. But again, this is still competitive within the segment. So if you really like Infiniti, you really like the brand, you really like the styling, and you just can't deal with the Pathfinder styling, definitely get the QX60. But if you're okay with all that stuff, the Pathfinder is just a little bit of a better value. But that's just my opinion.